Hello, this is Quang. Welcome to another video series on servicing. So what are we going to cover today? First, my name is Quang Quinn and also the author of Keep Calm and Mortgage On. Like I said, like I always say, if you haven't got it, do catch it or send me an email. Maybe I'll send you an ebook. So the series today is about servicing and primarily why we should focus and utilize principal and interest repayments and repayment structures and products over interest only. Like I said in my last video post, interest only is incurring a thing like an extra test called the loan to income ratio. And if you don't score less than 8, you will fail the servicing, which results in a decline, which then results in bad score on your credit rating. Well, it reduces the points, which, the means to the end is if you keep applying, not knowing that this is in place, you're going to get really bad score. So I always give talks by the two property, property agents who host workshops for their clients. Recently, we hosted one for Country Garden, which is a really big developer in China, and has requested our services to educate their valued clients. Now, one of the main things that we talked about is why we should move investor loans to principal and interest repayments. Okay. Now pay attention to this. You might say, hey, this is a really bad idea. My accountant said to put it on interest only so that I can claim negative gearing, right? Negative gearing. If I do on principal interest, by paying principal off my loan, I can't effectively boost and juice up my negative gearing. So a lot of people say, hey, ask the client one time, I propose this structure. They're like, hey, I can't do negative gearing, and my accountant said it doesn't work. I said, well, do you know what is negative gearing? And they're stumped. They were blank faced. They're like, oh, well, my accountant said it was the best thing in the world. I said, well, you know what negative gearing is? It's basically saying for every dollar you lose, right? Every dollar you lose, you can claim whatever that tax bracket back. Say to be round up 30%. So every dollar you lose, you get back 30 cents, right? So does it make sense that you go and deliberately lose money to get 30 cents back in every dollar? True if you're trying to build capital in your property. So say you take this hit, like Conor McGregor taking a hit from Mayweather. You take this hit in terms of the loss in negative gearing, and you can claim it back, the 30 cents in the dollar, for the fact that the price of the property that you buy would boost up capital gain. Now that's effectively what negative gearing is. So when I tell clients to go on principal and interest only and not go on interest only, I'm telling you, relax, because it's only for 2 years, okay? Because a lot of rates out there, you can get 3.88%, okay? 3.88% on principal and interest investor loans. Now, a lot of interest-only products, investor loans out there are around 5.1%. Can you do the maths? Let's do the maths together. 5.1% minus 3.88. You're paying a 1.22% extra in interest to do this negative gearing that you're talking about. You're actually losing more money. You're giving the bank more money. And at the end of the year, when you're paying interest only, you're not even paying back down your loan. So, what I'm proposing for a lot of clients, which my call to action on my speech, my keynote speeches at seminars, is do a thing called a bunker tactic. Stay low, 3.88, just 2 years, principal interest. while the government and the bank are waging war against each other, hiking up rates higher and higher and higher, alright? And you're staying here. You're a smart investor. You basically pay down your principal. Yes, you're probably paying your principal down maybe $10,000 to $12,000, right? But you can still claim on the interest that is being deducted for negative gearing, alright? And I mean, you might be paying down $10,000 to $12,000, but in the scheme of say $600,000 loan, paying down $10,000 to $12,000 is not a big thing, alright? And what happens is you're now on a lower rate, but this is the trick that a lot of my clients are using against the bank. Okay, this is a trick. When you are on a 3.88% P&I loan and you go and try to service your loan, the bank will assess you on a repayment, and I can talk about that more later. For example, say principal and interest on a $600,000 loan. I'm just making figures up on my head. Just say it's like $2,000. All right, $2,000. Now interest only, just hypothetically, say it's $1,000 that you're paying every month. Now, this is what we see. Okay, this is what we see. That this is what's coming out of our bank account. But in terms of the bank size, if you do not turn to principal and interest and you keep on interest only, this is what we see. We see it on 30 years. 30 years. In terms of servicing, bank is taking 25 years principal on this loan. What that means is, if you go to a bank and present to them that this is my structure, it's on interest only for all my investor rates, investor loans, I'm only paying $1,000 and I'm getting like maybe $1,500 in rent. That's good for you. But in terms of the bank, they're not using that. If your interest only is, say, let's start again, right from the top. If your interest only is 5 years, you're proud, I've got 5 years interest only. What the bank will do is they'll take 30 years minus 5, which is your interest only, use 25 years to assess your 600,000 loan. And what happens is, using 25 years repayments on 600,000 because the years are less, your actual repayment to them is about 2,500, so to speak. Now, if you are on this, it'll be $2,000. So at the end of the day, in terms of servicing, you're $500 worse off. Now, obviously, this is just round numbers, and I have the key facts and figures. If you want a copy of it, you can private message me. But I'm saying in this illustration is why it's better to be on principal and interest. And to summarize, what I'm trying to say is, by being on a principal and interest, you can still do negative gearing. Okay. Yes, you're paying down principal, but you're improving servicing. And as a bonus tip, the principal you paid off, the $10,000 to $12,000, you can draw it back out after 2 years. 2 years, draw that back out, then switch it back to interest only. And back then, after 2 years, the banks and the government's war on increasing rates have probably maybe mellowed down. Okay, we're just betting against that mellow down and correct itself, and rates will probably come down, and that's when you can switch it back to interest only, get back the $10,000 to $1,000, $12,000 that you paid off, and keep enjoying your negative gearing benefits as advised by your accountant. But at least you're on a better rate now than 5.1%, which I'm not lying. You call your bank right now, investors for Westpac and George, NAB, they're on 5.1%. Some even higher if you don't have discount, 5.5 or so. So a lot of now, what I'm doing is refining clients to a 3.88% rate on principal and interest, investor rate, and able to juice out more servicing to get a second and third property. If you like what I've just shared, make some comments below. If you've got questions, private message me, make a comment. I'm happy to answer you. Until then, keep calm and mortgage on.